Welcome everyone to the final image critiques of 2025. And just real quickly, I want to say thank you everyone so much for your support. This is the end of the third year that we've been doing this in the Portrait Photographers Resource. So to all of you watching, to all of you that have submitted, to all of our educators, thank you so much for your contributions. Now, I can't think of a better way to end the year with an absolutely incredible photographer, educator, and overall, all around, just an awesome human being. I want to introduce all of you to the amazing, the fabulous, the quite beautiful Vanessa Joy. Vanessa, can you say hi to all the world?
I am saying hi, but I'm also trying to make sure there's nothing in my teeth because I just finished my Costco chili, and here we are. So I'm going to smile, and you'll all forgive me if I have chili in my teeth.
Let's do a chili check. Yep, you're good. All right,
Okay.
we're perfect. No chili. And if you need to take some more bites, go for it, because I know how hungry you can get after working many hours. So, well, thank you so much, Vanessa, for joining us. I am so stoked you're here. For those who don't know Vanessa, she is a New York-based wedding photographer, but she's not just a wedding photographer. She is one that not only just takes such amazing images that are colorful, that are timeless, that are unique, but she caters to the luxury market. And I think that in itself is so hard to do, especially in a environment and an industry that is service-based, but it's really not necessary, right? We're a luxury product. We're kind of one of those things that's just an add-on, so to speak. You need a dentist, you need a doctor, you need a mechanic. You don't need a photographer. You should have a photographer, but I just want to say to you, Vanessa, that it's so awesome to see the community and the business that you've built. And I think it's truly an inspiration to all of us. So I'm really glad that you're here. Yeah, of course.
Me too. This is fun.
Yeah.
And now on to the judgments of all the people.
Yeah, right. I love all of you. Here's what's wrong with your photos. But I'm going to stop talking for a minute because I want to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself. Let the world know who you are in case they don't know who Vanessa Joy is. So Vanessa, share a little bit about, what you do, some of your inspirations, share a little bit about your education platform, because that's a big one. Just kind of paint a picture for us a little bit.
Yeah, well, I am formerly a Spanish teacher that gets really excited that I don't have to go back to school every September because I got to quit my day job and follow my dream. And that's exciting to me because I really thought, I wanted to do photography in high school. That's when I started, but I thought you had to have a real job. Did you suffer from that real job thing?
I did for a little bit. But for the most part, I've been a career photographer my whole life. I did I was a driving instructor and all that. And I worked at a 9 to 5 for a little bit. But for the most part, I've always been a photographer, but I can relate. I can relate for sure.
Well, I think a lot of us can relate to at least that joy of, I can support myself with photography. And I did start out in weddings. So I've been doing weddings for 20 something years. I still do like them. I love them, not as many as I used to do per year, that's for sure. But I since expanded into like corporate and portrait, and now this is Zoe. She's just going to be here, but now I go back and forth between corporate weddings and portraits. So it is quite the wild ride. And then this year, just a ton of sports. Like I shot F1 and NFL on the sidelines, Monday Night Football, and MLB at the Royals, and so many fun things. So I've definitely expanded quite a bit. And I travel 150 days a year for both people that pay me to take pictures and then also speaking to photographers. But I since have started a mastermind, which I'd love to just like sell you right now, but it's sold out as of tonight. So I can't.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah. I'm pretty excited. We'll open it up again early next year, but there is a waiting list right now. But it's exciting because I'm teaching other photographers business and life-changing financial legacy stuff. It's cool.
That is super cool. I love that. So I first met you at WPPI, where I've honestly met most of the people on this series that I do, the image critiques. And how long have you been a speaker there for?
About 15 years.
Okay.
And this is Zoe. Sorry, she just.
I was about to ask who's that.
Yes, this is Zoe. She's very interested in my chili leftovers. But WPPI, I want to say about 15 years. And actually, this year, I believe WPPI will be the only show that I'm at this year. Usually I speak at every single one of them, but I decided to take a little bit of a break. And I think WPPI will be the only one that I'm actually at.
Awesome. Yeah, it's timeless. It's great. It's where I started. It's really where I started my career and learned kind of the fundamentals of being a successful photographer and business owner. So I always show mad support for them. And I'm not sure if I'm going to be there or not this year. I haven't decided yet. This is actually the first year in 7 years I am not speaking. So I haven't decided if I'm going to go or not because I have a lot happening elsewhere, but we'll see. So if
you get major FOMO when you don't go, the FOMO is real. It's so bad.
I know I'm going to have it, and that's why I'm really considering going. But for those who are going, what class are you speaking? So maybe they'll be able to find you there.
Probably, I don't know totally yet, but most likely I'll be around the Canon booth. I did not apply to speak anywhere this year on purpose. And I told every head of show that I will not be speaking on a platform class this year. So,
Interesting.
But Canon, I have a very good relationship with Canon. So if they tell me to come, I come. If they tell me to jump, I say how high.
Fair enough. You got some of those obligations that you just got to do. So I totally understand.
Yeah.
But well, right on, Vanessa. So before we jump into this image critique, there is something I want to talk about really quickly, and that is Fundy. And Fundy is the sponsor for this image critique. Now, I'm pretty sure that most of you in this group use Fundy or are Fundy users, but for those of you who may not be familiar, Vanessa and I are both ambassadors for this awesome software. And basically what it does is it allows you to seamlessly, easily design albums, wall art, save the date cards. You can instantly create slideshows in a matter of seconds. Basically, it just really streamlines your experience when it comes to creating keepsakes for your clients. So again, whether that's albums or wall art or any sort of physical prints, I highly recommend using it as an easy tool to design all of those items. Now, if you are not a Fundy user already and you want to try it, I have a special promo code, and Vanessa's face is blocking it and my face is blocking it, but the code is, you guessed it, Vanessa Joy. So if you want to save for life and get 30% off Fundy, I highly recommend using it. It changed my life and it changed the way I design albums, and I know Vanessa's a huge supporter of it as well. Do you have anything to add to that?
One thing I love about Fundy is just how easy it is to use, not even just on like my end, like, it's fast, it designs quickly and all that, but the way that I do my album sales and like wall art and things like that is I am on a Zoom call because I don't do in person because I like wearing pajama bottoms.
Fair. I just don't wear pants at all when I'm on these Zoom
That's
calls.
fine,
I'm not wearing
and
them right
having
now.
my snacks. Yeah, I got slippers on. It's great, and have my snacks. So always virtual, and Funny just makes it so easy to be able to like share their pop out screen that's like just client facing. And when I make changes on my back end, it populates on that end and just becomes like a really good client experience.
Yeah, and I love the recent changes they've made in version 11, and the design for me feature is it just makes it look a lot more professional. It's almost like the clients have their own little client area, and it's just a whole experience within itself. If you haven't used that new feature yet, it really is worth it and elevates the experience for your couple. So definitely try Fundy, 30% off, code Vanessa Joy. So with that said, last thing I wanted to point out is, as you guys know, as of last year, Facebook deletes all the live streams after 60 or 30 days. So if you want to catch the replay of this after those 30 days, please follow me on YouTube. It's at Sean Lara Photography, and you can rewatch this image critique as well as all of the others that we've done over the past couple of years. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and jump into our image critiques. Are you ready, Vanessa, to rock and roll?
I am.
All right, here we go. We're going to go ahead and jump into our critique. I just need to switch my screen here. All right, so this first image comes from Jared Fix. A little bit of info about this. This was shot for Santa Barbara Lifestyle Magazine at the Ritz-Carlton. He used high-speed sync here on full power with a ProPhoto 1000-watt head. 16 hundredths of a second at f9 shot with a Nikon Z9. One shot and one shot only. The idea was an afterthought at the end of the shoot, and it turned out to be on the cover, which is pretty cool. And I just realized my face is gone, so let's go ahead and turn my face back on. There we go. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and start, and I'm just going to briefly jump into this because this isn't my scene. And Vanessa, you probably know a lot more about lifestyle shoots than I do. Actually, not probably. I know you do. So one thing I love about this image is it's kind of one of those images that it intentionally breaks a lot of the traditional rules in photography, right? And I love that, right? It's just something different. It's so unique. And I really appreciate kind of the intention behind this. If I had to get really technical about it and really nitpick, there's a couple things maybe I would look at potentially changing. And the first thing comes from just a technical side of things, right? And that is the lighting. So I almost want to see her a little bit more evenly lit, and maybe, or not necessarily more evenly lit, but a little bit more light on her legs. It falls off right around her hips down into her legs. And for me, it's like I almost want to see more detail there. And that to me, I think would add a little bit more to the shot, especially since the pool is so vibrant and it's really bright and the highlights are coming through a little bit more. Your eye almost goes straight to that big blue pool as opposed maybe to the model, which is obviously the subject. Other than that, kind of on the pose, obviously this breaks all of the rules. She's very straight. She's very straight. There's definitely no bending of the knees or anything like that here. But again, I do like that it is breaking those rules. Maybe the only thing I would say it would be with her expression, right? Like something to maybe bring you in a little bit more to her. Maybe like lifting an eyebrow or something like that. Just really small things. It's hard for me to judge this and critique this because this is not my scene. So that's why, Vanessa, I would love for you to jump in and kind of give some more feedback here.
Yeah. Well, isn't it funny how this was like the last shot? Because when it comes to corporate or lifestyle, or really this is corporate, is shooting for a magazine. So you kind of have your must-haves. And for me, when I go into corporate shoots, I'm always like, I got to do their list. I got to make sure we get that done and get it solid and get it perfect. And sometimes it doesn't allow for creativity because you're really fulfilling someone else's vision, right? So it's so funny that's the last photo and then they end up using it for the cover. It's almost like They hired him because they knew his creativity would win. But yeah, I agree with you with just like the overall impact is awesome. And then there's like the little nuances. Yes, her legs are a different color than her arms, 100% because of the shadow. And some of that could be fixed a little bit in post. We could balance that out a little bit. The other thing for me that's a little bit distracting, and it's just a color harmony thing. So, like the pool is the same color as the background of the left side of the magazine there, but then the blue in the sky is different. I feel like it would have had a little bit more impact if we had shifted the hue of the blue of the sky to be more, not, it doesn't have to match perfectly, but just a little bit more of the teal versus going towards purple. And then the greens, if we shifted more towards the yellows that we see in her hair, I think you would just get a whole different vibe and look from this. That being said, nobody's critiquing it. They're all like, that's an awesome magazine cover.
Right. And it's so hard. I always tell people too, when they're submitting to these, try to submit photos that, you're proud of, but you just know there's that one extra thing maybe that you could do to elevate it even more. Like what, so, but you're not sure what that is. Like, what is that thing? What is the thing? I don't know. I'm going to submit this photo. Those are the kind of images we want to see. Right. And I think this is a great example of that. So, Jared, thank you so much for submitting. I really appreciate it. And Vanessa for the feedback on that. We're going to go ahead and move on because Vanessa and I are both on a timetable here, and we got to make sure we get out of here on time. We're both very, very busy people. So next photo, this comes from a dude I know who also lives in Fort Collins. His name is Bob Younger, and Bob was fortunate enough to be invited to shoot the Denver Fashion Show last month. This, I'm trying to skim through kind of what he said because he wrote me a novel. But basically what he was saying is that the space was very small, about 8 by 8. He had used a 2-light setup with the lights opposite of each other. 200-watt strobes, one with the 36-inch gridded octabox and a 24-inch octabox. So I'm going to go ahead and let you jump in here, Vanessa, and kick it off with your thoughts.
Yeah. So overall, just like the color and everything, it's so rich. It's definitely eye-catching, especially when you've got like those super saturated reds and yellows and greens, and just love that when I see it. And working in a tight space, no easy feat for sure. Some things I would love is just more connection with the eyes in some kind of way. So model on the left, we just see the whites of her eyes, which arguably we could go for like almost a possessed type of look. But if we just had her look slightly still off camera, but look more to her left, then we would get more of the iris, the pupil, and it's just a little bit more pleasing. And then same thing with my model over there on the right. She's kind of doing the same thing. Like her iris is just too far over, and it's giving like a strained look, which is interesting because her eye is, half shut. She's going for kind of that look, but the strain and then the eye relax at the same time doesn't quite mesh as much. So I would have loved more eye work, which for the record, I'm sure is very difficult during a fashion show. The models are just kind of running in and out.
Absolutely. And Bob, one thing I really like that you did here was you paid attention to the lighting when it in harmony with the skin tones. I think your skin tones are beautiful here, and the retouching is not, it's not too extensive. It doesn't look fake, and that sometimes can be very hard to achieve. So very well done there. What my small issue with this image is actually the direction of the lighting. And what I mean by that is, you all know, I'm sure, the difference between broad light and short light, right? You have the model on the right who's beautifully short lit, but then the model on the left, she's a little bit more broadly lit, and that's not always an issue, but the reason why it may be something to think about in this image is the model on the left is actually a little bit closer to the camera than the model on the right. So because of that, she's in two ways. She's looking like she's a little bit bigger than the model on the right, and that could be maybe a little bit unflattering, right? So in my opinion, I would maybe try to feather the light or grid it a little bit more. So the light on camera right is intentionally just being flagged or just being hit on the model to the right and is not lighting the model on the left. And then you bring a second light in camera left, so she is also short lit. And what that's going to do is it's going to bring down the highlights on her cheekbone and on her neck, and it's going to make her look not as prominent in the photo as the model on the right. I hope I explained that kind of well, but do you kind of see that as well, Vanessa, or am I totally off base?
I do, and
Okay.
if I could summarize, it would be the model on the right is the favorite, and the model on the left got put in the not as favorable position because we're making her look larger than she probably is, both in lighting and pose.
Yeah, exactly. So that would be the main thing, Bob. But other than that, seriously, what an awesome photo. I love their outfits. I love the skin tones. Really well done. So keep on keeping, dude. Actually, Jared and Bob just worked a wedding this week together. So yeah, apparently they'd make a great team. So
love it.
We're gonna go ahead and move on to our next photo. This photo comes from Richard Lee, and Richard captured this with his Sony, but we don't talk about Sony. There was a larger spotlight directly above the model, aimed slightly upward, with the ambient light from another setup's lighting, lighting the front of her, diffused by a semi-transparent plastic, apparently. And of course, there was a fog machine. So we're gonna go ahead and actually, I guess I'm gonna jump in and kind of look at what I think here. So, two things for me here. One is something to do with the lighting, and one is something to do with the pose. So I'll start with the lighting. I love the orange light, and I love the fog, and I love how that backlight is kind of creating those rays. I think that's so freaking cool. Where I kind of struggle a little bit with it, and I feel like this is just my opinion, and it's not necessarily something that should be taken with a grain of salt. But I feel like because that orange light is so bright, it's so warm compared to the rest of the cool tones of the image, that my eye almost goes straight to that part first. So I almost would have liked to see that light coming maybe from up high in either camera right or left. But again, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Everyone's got kind of artist subjective. And the other thing too are the fingers, right? I would love to see more of the fingers. They're really clutched in like this, so you're only seeing her knuckles, and it looks like almost all her fingers are just amputated or they're non-existent, right? So maybe try to change the pose a little bit where you can see some more of her fingernails, so it just doesn't look like they're amputated a little bit.
Or gripped a lot, like adding more tension where you don't necessarily want it.
Right. Mm-hmm. So that would, I mean, honestly, that's kind of my main critique here. Are those two things? And what would you add, Vanessa?
Yeah, I mean, I actually like the warm and cool because when you have complementary colors like that, it tends to bring an image to life. I think where you could actually go a little bit further is make the top background a little bit more blue and saturated, and then it would match that bottom's saturated look. And I think then it would balance it a little bit more, or do the reverse, mute the orange. But for me, the editing is where I would look at, because for example, I can tell the hair on her neck. I don't care that it's there. I actually think the messy-ish a little bit look with everything that's going on is appropriate, but it stops in the middle of her neck and then starts again at her collar. So that, to me, I'm like, what happened there? And it looks a little funky, and maybe that hair is coming out of her collar. I don't know, but to me, that it was just like kind of threw me off. And then also like just her overall skin tones. So her face from like cheeks down is warm, but cheeks up is cold. And I'm not sure if there was like a linear gradient or like something happened there, but the skin tone seems a little bit off.
A little blotchy is what you're saying?
Yeah, just different. Not as uniform.
Yeah, when I zoom in on this image, I kind of see what you're saying a little bit. So, yeah, that makes total sense. And I see that one piece of hair as well that you're telling me about.
Yeah, it's a weird little thing, but it's one of the things that are like, wait a minute, and starts to make you think about the wrong parts of the image, right? Like instead of things we want to photograph on or focus on.
Yeah, absolutely. Overall, though, I love that you pointed out the balance between the orange and the blue because they're opposite colors on the color wheel, and that's not something I thought about at first. So a really good job pointing that out, Vanessa. But yeah, overall, what an awesome photo. It's almost like she's literally like a rock star, like emerging from a stage, about to like sing some heavy metal to me.
Avril Lavigne songs, maybe.
Ooh, I did see her this year. I did see her.
Really?
I did. Yeah, I saw her in Vegas. Yeah, she was great. She was good. So, all right. Well, hey, thank you so much, Richard, for submitting this. We're gonna go ahead and move to image number 4. If it'll go to image number 4. Why aren't we going to image number 4? There we go. Okay. This one comes from Scott Tibbles. And let's see what Scott had to say about this. Basically, he used a 100-watt strobe inside a 38-inch softbox. 38, it's kind of a weird size. Oh, wait, no, it must have been a Gikoto. Used as a table. Oh, okay, so this was shot over a softbox, essentially. Added another form of diffusion over the top of his softbox as the grids in the white outer diffuser were showing through on my softbox alone. Place the rings, place the arms, pose the hands, snap away from above. He learned this technique from Madi Rabi, the Grand Award winner at WPPI last year. Okay. I hope I said that name right. But yeah, I guess it's your turn to start on this one.
I mean, first of all, like super eye-catching and really creative. I would never, in the 20-something years I've been doing weddings, never have this shot would have occurred to me. It's just so much fun.
Right.
And what a great, like, I tend to think about things as far as like prints. So like what a great album spread this would end up being, like going across. So really, really fun. The only things I would love to see is just a little bit of dehaze maybe on the rings.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a little bit too much light. Like it needed to be a little bit darker. And I think we would have gotten a little bit more detail of the rings. Instead, we're kind of losing like the solitaire diamond in there, which is arguably the most valuable part of, tangibly valuable part of the photo there. So just having, a little bit higher of an f-stop or lowering the power of the light or your exposure, pick one, or even maybe some dehaze in Lightroom could help bring out that texture.
Yeah. And I don't have much more to add to that because I feel like that is kind of the, as critiquers and as judges, this is kind of the one thing that we would all catch pretty quickly. I would recommend, next time, one thing you can do is if you remove or you move the hands of your subject a little bit further away from that backlight, from that light source, it's gonna lessen the amount of light that's spilling over because it is quite hazy on those hands, and sometimes that dehaze tool is great, but it's not a solve-all, fix-all solution. So by taking those hands a little bit further away from your light source, you're going to get a much clearer image. So I don't know what that looks like. I didn't. Well, actually, you know what? Scott did include a behind-the-scenes shot. I was just about to say I don't know what it looked like, but okay, here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this up on our feed. So if you're watching live, everyone, you'll see what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's exactly it. Is basically Scott just pull those hands a little bit further away from that light source, and that's going to give you a less of that haze.
Fun. He would be fighting with like keeping the rings in focus versus the hands. So this might even be a circumstance where a composite image you could potentially use too.
Either composite or shooting at like f14 or something like that. And you can get away with that if you are, able to control your lighting as he is here. So, well, cool. Thanks, Scott. And actually, thank you for submitting that behind the scenes shot because it really helped us analyze this photo. All right, go ahead. We're going to go ahead and move on. This next photo comes from Radon Burton. And this is Radon's photo, right? Yeah, okay. And this shot was shot on a Canon R6 with a 24-70 and lit with a Gikoto GT200 and a 24-inch Magmod Magbox camera left. Okay, so it is my turn. Couple small things here that I want to address. First of all, let me talk about what I like. I love Radon, his expression. I mean, if I were playing football, okay, now excuse me for lack of terminology because I'm not a sports ball guy. I played tennis and baseball in growing up, and that's about it. But I'm assuming he's like a linebacker or something. And if I was lined up on the sports ball field and I saw this dude, I'd be very intimidated. I mean, he's got this like mean mug to him, and this expression, and it exudes power. And I think he did a very good job lighting it to match that intent. And it worked great. You had that split lighting. He got those kind of harsh shadows on his face. So very well done with that. Couple small technical things maybe. The first thing comes with maybe the post-production. His skin tones are almost a little too gray for me. They're a little bit too cool. Couple things you could do. There's a couple things you could do with that. You could bring up white balance a little bit. You could bring up the luminance, the vibrancy of his skin. Not too much of a big deal, but it's just something that I would consider looking at, Radon, when bringing this into post production. And for me, the lighting on his left arm, so right side of the frame for us looking, you got these weird shadows that are a little distracting on his forearm there. So I would light with a little bit more. Basically, be a little bit more careful when you're lighting and watch how that relationship to the highlights and the shadows. One thing you can do to help minimize those really defined edges is just to use a larger light source. So you said here you were using a 24-inch softbox. That's a little bit, in my opinion, that's a little bit too small of a softbox to be using for a full body shot. So you might want to consider moving up to like a 48, for example. So what do you feel? Vanessa, how do you feel? Do you feel?
How do I feel? I feel wonderful. Well, first of all, the lens choice was a good choice, as well as the angle. Like, I thought that was done really well too, because you want to make someone look more powerful. You get lower than them because psychologically they're towering over you, right? So good job with that there. I would just like to see a little bit more color balance, but also I think it might be environmental balance as well. So like we've got this big tough football guy on a really pretty backdrop with like pretty leaves and leaves on the ground and things, and there's like a little bit of a mismatch there in his environment.
Yes, I completely agree. I was thinking that. I'm glad you said it. So okay.
Yeah. Although I have to say, if I just look at the top and I take out the prettiness, I like the sky. That's a very sky. And it matches that part there.
It does match for sure. It is a really pretty area though. Probably, like you said, a little bit better for like a family shoot or engagement session or something like that. So yeah, the scene's doesn't quite match, but either way, Radon, I love it. And actually, just another quick thing I want to point out. I love like the tear on his jersey. Mm-hmm. It matches the light, matches the vibe. So little tiny things like that are really awesome to see. So very well done. Very well done. Okay, moving on. Number six. This comes from a dude, and this dude's name is John Hawking. And you know what? For this, I'm going to move our portraits over a little bit to the left side of the screen just because the subject's on the right. So I'm just moving us. Yep. Shoot. Did I start or did you start last time? You started, right? Or no.
No, you did.
So, I did? Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's your turn now to start.
Yeah. So I have I don't know where you are, but I'm jealous. Such a fun wall and such a great spot.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah, very fun.
He's from LA, so I'm assuming, yeah.
Okay. And then good job with, knowing that you couldn't just pose somebody against it without any light. So the light where, we're lighting our subject, but not the background is fantastic because that's going to help pull it out because that is a really busy background and it is a little bit difficult to separate somebody from it, especially since like everything's in crisp focus, which that would be probably something that I would change, either because I still need a little bit of separation. So there's a couple of different ways that you could do this. We could have created maybe a silhouette of him. So then we get the mural and then the idea of him more as a silhouette. So they're not like fighting, like right now they're fighting for my attention. Or we bring the subject further away from the wall so we can blur it more. And then that helps tell the viewer like where the attention goes. Because right now they're kind of have a juxtaposition, but not enough where they're in harmony. They're still kind of fighting for attention.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. And and to answer our questions, he did say that this was captured in Long Beach, so I was pretty close. But yeah, I mean, really, this is a great. I love so much about this. I love the composition. I love the crop on it. The rule of thirds is like if I were to give a presentation on the rule of thirds, like this is an example, right? It's so well done in that regard. I think maybe if I had to add anything constructive, it would just be to see a little bit more of a dynamic pose from him. I mean, he seems very close. He's like with his arm, both of his arms in his pocket. He's a little bit guarded. Maybe if he took like his, his hand out of his pocket a little bit, brought that elbow back, took his right arm, maybe had him grab his jacket. Or one pose I really like to do, especially with my grooms, is to have the hands doing something, have them bring it on the button of their jacket like they're about to either undo it or close it. Something that just gives a little bit more motion and a little bit more believability to the scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is probably one of my favorite photos I've seen from you, John. So I really appreciate you sending this in, because it's really cool, and I love what you did. And I do want to point out too, something that's so small that we overlook all the time. Oh, who's that with you? Hold on.
That's my daughter, Felicity. She's coming in to say goodnight and to steal Zoe from me. So she can
okay. Well, good night, Felicity. Good night, Zoe.
Sorry to be distracting.
Oh no, you're totally fine. You're totally fine. So, anyway, going back though to the critique. Yeah, so one thing I really appreciate is it's so easy to do this, but is to have like cut off heads or have lines going through heads. And John was able to frame this perfectly, kind of in the coral right there, or the kelp or whatever that's supposed to be. And I don't know if that was intentional, but if it was, really well thought out there, John. So yeah, thank you, dude. Appreciate you. All right, we're gonna go ahead and move on to number 7. This photo comes from. Hold on one second. I believe this comes from. No, this is
Hector.
From Hector. Okay, there we go. Yep, I had my files messed up. So yeah, comes from Hector Vasquez, and the groom wanted something a little different while he was gardening. Okay. I don't.
Gardening?
That's what it says. So we'll just take the photo. I don't know if that's what you meant to say, Hector, but we'll take it at face value though. So yeah, I guess it's my turn to start here. So first of all, I want to say I love cigar shots, as I've mentioned before. A lot of the times the focus on a wedding day is on the bride, and if you can do something to make the groom shine and really have a keepsake for him that he's gonna love, I mean, I'm always so down for that. One thing I would want to start with though is to talk about is on the processing. So I almost feel like the shadows are a little bit almost too brought up, and I almost would like to see a little bit more of a dramatically lit, a little bit more contrast in a shot like this. When you're doing these dramatic, smoking shots, obviously rules are meant to be broken, but when you're doing that, you want to give it kind of that more mysterious vibe, right? So that's something to think about. Another thing I would consider is cropping it a little bit differently. He's holding something, and we can tell it's a drink, but I feel like I want a little bit more context to what he's holding, and I'm not really sure if it's supposed to be in the image or part of the scene or if it's not, right? And I feel like it's because of that crop cutting it halfway on his hands on that drink, I'm getting a little lost if it should be in there or not. So I would almost recommend maybe cropping it, pulling it back a little bit, or maybe even cropping it a little bit tighter. So really, that's kind of the one of the things I would improve on, and maybe the angle as well. The angle just feels a little funky to me. Like I would almost take a step, like a big step back and camera left. So kind of like the last photo, we use a little bit more of those rule of thirds, and we show some more of his scene or more of the setting as well, right? Because I see this background, I'm really interested in what it is, and I'd like to almost see that incorporated a little bit more into the image. But Vanessa, let's see if oh, sorry, one more thing. The going back to kind of the shadows, the highlights like on his skin tones and his jacket and his shirt, they're a little muddled, and it almost leads me to believe that maybe this was a little bit blown out when it was originally taken, and when he recovered it, it just kind of gave that muddled look. So not really sure if that's exactly what was going on here, but just something that I'm noticing that could be improved on. So Vanessa, what do you have to add to that?
Yeah, I'm right there with you with the like moving slightly to the camera left, and back a little bit. But did you notice the smoke on the top left like makes a heart?
You know, it kind of does actually. Yeah, I just noticed that.
What? That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, so this particular shot, you know, kind of like a classic groomsman smoking type shot.
Yeah.
It's best done when the background has more black in it, and then also the subject does, because the black background is going to enhance the smoke. And then the light that you have on the blue light that's backlighting him need to come back like probably 10 more feet, and then it would have spread and would have highlighted even more of the smoke. So it's a tricky, a little bit of a lighting shot, but hold on.
Bless you.
I've been holding that sneeze for so long. Sorry.
No worries, no worries.
Yeah, but that shot, you know, just works a lot better, like you said, with kind of those shadows, and then like backing up and just giving room for the image to breathe, for the subject to breathe. I always say you can always crop back in, but it's a little bit harder to crop back out.
Right. Absolutely. Well, cool. I'm glad we're on the same page with that. Hector, thank you so much for submitting that. We're going to go ahead and move on here. This next photo comes from another regular submitter. This comes from Kurt Walton. Kurt used his Sony Boo with a Godox 8400 flash in a 60-inch Octabox. This was just a little around 4 p.m. The sun was setting at 4:45 in the San Francisco area, and so it was the most beautiful backlighting that day. Just finished with his family shoot, and his assistant wanted some shots when we were done, so I got about 30 beautiful shots of her. It was a great day. Well, I'm glad it was a great day, Kurt. It looks like it. Okay.
Cool.
So,
you want me to pop it off?
Yeah, pop it off, please.
All right, cool. Well, so, you know, love that you got the golden hour light, because that's what we all go for. And then the positioning of it is pretty good too, you know, having it more behind. So, you know, you give a little rim light to her and then filling in the shadows with your flash. That part, definitely the main idea there. What would help a little bit, especially since it was golden hour, if we found a way just to get a little bit lower, so we get not the lake back there, which you do have some of a glow on there, but really where that golden glow comes is through the trees. So through the trees in the back, if you were just like a little bit lower, probably a little bit more to the left even, I think you would have more of that light really making your background just shine. And then the other thing we want to look at is, you know, the most important part. How does our subject look? So with our subject, you know, you've got her in a position that's like sort of meant to be, I think, relaxed and casual. Mm-hmm. But there are some things that we could do, just little tiny things. You could keep most of her body position, but instead of her hips being like two butt cheeks on the rock, like have her tilt slightly more towards you, even that top knee, just like leaning it slightly. But then really it's in the hands. That's where we kind of can tell that there's a lot of tension. So the hand that is holding her body weight really on the rock, is really gripped. You can tell. So just reminding your subject, because it's only natural that they do that. Reminding your subject to be like, hey, just bend that elbow a little, just wiggle those fingers, and then the ones that are on her knee, just maybe instead of putting the hand on the kneecap, you just hang the wrist on the kneecap and then let the whole arm flop, and then you'll just bring a relaxation to this entire photo that isn't quite there right this second.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. I'll jump in and say a couple more things as well. So for starters, I feel like there's a little bit of there's a couple things I do here, but I'll just kind of talk about the main ones that I'm seeing that could use some improvement. And the first one is it's a little hazy, and I don't know if that's because maybe the flash was feathered a little bit into the camera, or maybe just you're shooting into the sun too much. I'm not really sure or there wasn't a lens hood used. I don't know what's going on, but it's a little hazy, and maybe dehaze it just a little bit. The other thing, talking about that pose, right? Her right shoulder, right? It's very stiff. It's very unrelaxed. We always want to try when posing people, especially women, is we want to try to avoid those straight arms, right? And actually, what's so funny, Vanessa, is I was watching. I accidentally came across one of your posing videos yesterday.
Oh no!
I'm working on a posing guide right now for my brides and grooms, and I remember one of the things you said in there is to avoid straight arms, and this is a perfect example of that, right? What's happened is because her arm's straight and she's putting so much tension on the arm, it's bringing her right shoulder up, and it's making it appear more broad, right? And we don't.
Yeah.
Unless, it's like an MMA or a boxing photo shoot, generally speaking, and I use the word generally, women don't want to be seen as having broad shoulders, right? So by what you said earlier, rotating those hips a little bit, putting the weight on that one butt cheek, bringing that arm back a little bit and bending that elbow, it's going to drop that shoulder. It's going to make her look a lot more relaxed. It's going to be a lot more flattering. So.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I agree.
Also, the feet are hidden here. You guys can see the one shoe is barely visible. The other shoe is completely invisible. It looks like her feet are just cut off. So I would actually, Kurt, probably crop this like almost 50%. Just completely crop this in just to the right of her hand. And that way it's focused more on her upper body as opposed to her entire body. Or just rotate the camera, reposition her so we can see those. So
love it.
Yeah. Great. Good job, Kurt. That was dope. Dope nasty, as we say. Okay, here we go. This photo comes from Melissa, and just Melissa. And Melissa, what did she do? She used two lights here. One behind the couple with a colored gel, green it looks like, and then a second flash, camera left, held by an assistant. Okay, so let's unpack this a little bit. So first of all, I love the concept here. The concept's great, right? You kind of got, like, in my opinion, I see, like, when I look at this, I see a story, right? I see the guests in the right side of the frame. They're just doing their thing, enjoying the party. And in my mind, I see these, I make up this story where this couple is just like overwhelmed by all their guests, and they just want to get out of for a second and enjoy a moment alone. And they ran into this, whatever this is, just to have that private, intimate moment, right? So I love the storytelling aspect of this. I think it's really powerful here. There are a couple technical things that you might want to improve. Now, when you're doing these dancing shots like this, speaking from experience, they are very, very challenging to do, not only in a tight space like this, but when you're using flash. It's very challenging because you get awkward shadows and you're combining that with movement. So I don't necessarily think that this pose was the right call for this setting because you only have such a tight area to work with. And what's happening here is the bride is very square to the camera, and then you're only seeing just the profile of the groom here. And that is, in my opinion, potentially could be seen as a little unflattering towards the bride because it makes her look that much larger in comparison to the groom. So that's why I think maybe another pose here would have worked just a little bit better. And because you're using flash, it's, from camera left, it's also hitting the bride's dress flat straight on, and it's really just making those highlights pop and become a little bit too blown out. So one thing you could do in post-production just right off the bat is just bring those highlights down. And other technical things I could talk about, maybe, there's a little bit too much noise in the shadows and all that fun stuff. But really, those are the main things that I just wanted to address. So I'm sure you see a couple others. Vanessa, what else would you have to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, the whole concept is like perfect. Totally get the idea that she had in her head, like, the people, over on the right, but they're just having their little moment in there. Really, two things that I think would have made this a lot better of a photo, which actually kind of address all the things that you just talked about, is if we had them in a standard pose, just like something like forehead to forehead, kill the flash on their faces, and instead you could light the back if you wanted to. By the back, I mean like where it's green back there. But what would have been more effective is, I think, if you turned it and silhouetted them and you lit them, because then now I'm not distracted by the windows on the back wall with the green there. It would just silhouette them and section them out, and then you would be able to pose them in a way that they would both look flattering in a silhouette. But the other thing is, kind of going back to that warm and cool before, we've got warm colors with the yellows and the oranges here. I don't think green was the correct choice. Blue would have been the correct choice for this.
Agreed. 100%.
And that would have brought it out.
And that's an easy fix,
eye-catching.
Too. That's an easy
Actually,
fix.
Yeah, you could totally fix that in post.
Yeah, I mean, because you would just select the green channel because it's the only green in the image, and you would just decrease or change the hue on it and then bring it to the blue. So yeah, very easy fix. But yeah, but I do want to say, Melissa, again, I commend you for thinking outside of the box and intentionally doing something that's creative, because I guarantee you that 95% of wedding photographers in the industry as a whole, not necessarily our circle, but as a whole, would not think of this to do something like this. So really, really good job. Just a little bit of refinement, and you got a solid photo. So very well done. Okay, moving on. I am going to go ahead and go to Rick Lewis's photo. Now, I gotta say, well, let me first of all say what he wrote. He said this was self-photographed. He used his phone as a camera trigger. So this is a self-portrait of Rick.
So this is Rick.
This is Rick. I can see it now, but obviously he doesn't have gray hair and everything like that. But he tried to find originally he tried to find someone that looked like Zeus, or the European version of God, but he couldn't find anyone. So he's
like, here I am.
Yeah. So he wound up ordering a wig and beard. He just did it himself. So, obviously it sounds like you know who Rick is, Vanessa, and Rick's a good buddy of mine and a phenomenal photographer. And I love that he submits photos all the time because his work is spectacular, but I always struggle with something to say because his shit is just so good. And it's it's so far from what I do. Like I don't do this kind of stuff, right? I photograph brides and grooms and bratty kids during family sessions, right? Like this is actually, I take that back. Most of the kids I work with are actually pretty cool, but it's like, how do I start here? You know,
I can start.
So I would love for you to, I have a couple things that I'm kind of seeing, but yeah, I would love for you to start and maybe I'll add to that.
Yeah. I mean, photographically gorgeous. I do have to say, like the tones, the way the color grade is there, like lovely. There are a couple of things that are, I'll say, distracting me. One is either I want him to be totally centered on this image or I need him to be actually in the rule of thirds over to the right. So little tiny crop thing. You can fix that in a second.
I got you.
But what is he actually holding besides the universe in the other
sun,
hand?
I think. It's a knife? Shaver. It's a straight razor.
Okay, so is he slitting his wrists?
I'm not really sure what he's doing. And then maybe
that's yeah. Are we like, God is looking at the universe like, wow, they really screwed this up. I'm going to kill myself. Like, so to me, I'm like, I'm so distracted by that.
Yeah.
Like,
So
I feel
there's
like
a little bit of a disconnect with the story is what you're trying to say.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. With the story, and then the position of the universe there and the angle and the hand. I have a very crude mind, apparently. It's not in the right position. I need it somewhere elevated, I think.
But I think that's what art is about, though. It's about to evoke emotion, and it should make you think, right? Yeah. And I think that's exactly what I think is happening here. And it does lead you to really question what the heck is going on, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the expression is very solemn and sullen. So maybe it is like he's dropping the universe and giving up.
Right. Yeah, maybe. I think that's a great perspective. As I'm looking more at the image, one other thing I'm seeing that I find a little distracting and maybe just a little weird is the positioning of his left foot. So it's almost like kind of bent at a weird angle. Yeah, it's bent like his toe, or his heel is bent in, and then his toes are bent out. So I almost would have and to me, I don't know, my eye keeps going there. So maybe just that slight adjustment on the heel would be.
To me, like Rick does yoga. He's very mobile with knees bending like that.
He's a fit dude. I mean, I mean, I did arm wrestle him last year and I won, but I promised him that I would never say that publicly. Well, until now, apparently.
So now.
Yeah. What happened is we ended up getting in an argument about chocolate milk. You ask him about it. So he challenged me to an arm wrestling match, and I couldn't say no. I had to defend my honor. So, yeah, had to put him in his place. See, he's laughing. He knows. He remembers.
I love it.
But yeah, great things that you just pointed out, Vanessa. And it's really a thought-evoking image, and keep on keeping, Rick, because this is phenomenal. So thank you so much for submitting this. Yeah, we'll go. We're almost done, actually. We're gonna go ahead and move on to this next photo. This comes from Adrienne Como. What did she say? She used just basically a Godox V1 with an extra large Magmon Magsphere grid combo. Camera right held by the bride's dad. I always love when you can get when you don't have an assistant and you get someone from the wedding to help out, because the thing is guests are always down to be involved and help create some art for the bride and groom. And most of the time when I've asked someone to help me light a shot, they're stoked, right? Because they want to be involved and they want to see the photographer be successful on behalf of the bride and the groom or the wedding couple. So, basically my point is don't be afraid to ask guests for help. But yeah, why don't you start here, Vanessa? I see a few things, but I'd love for you to jump in and start.
Yeah. Well, definitely good with the pose. I love when I just see something that's not a typical straight line, right? Because we all have to do the straight line pose, but when we get to break from it, it's always good. Yep. It's not anything having to do with the photographer, but there's always one groomsman, I swear, that's not following directions. That guy on the left. Everyone else knew how to do the serious face, or at least not the smiling one, but the guy on the left, he just ruins it for everybody. But so my thing here that could be improved upon is definitely the editing. There's some inconsistencies that are making my eyes bounce around. So like the third groomsman from the right, the glasses on the left-hand side, I can see what the background really was. I can also see on the second groomsman from the left between his legs what the background really was there. So you just have to be careful when you're manipulating that you really do a good job, and then you don't do it too much where you get haloing that you see over there all the way on the right groomsmen. It's definitely a fine line when you are editing these things to make sure that it doesn't go overboard into hyper realism. Of course, unless that's what you're going for, because it is subjective and some people do like that, but you just little things to look out for and be careful about.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm glad actually you touched up on the editing, because I was going to talk about not the editing. So this is a perfect segue. And one thing I want to start with is talking about the positives. And I love the light. I love the idea of the light, I should say. I love that you've focused the attention on the groom to make him the star of the show. and it's pretty. Besides some of the technical editing things that you pointed out, Vanessa, I think it's well done. It's great. It's so cool. For me, I think what I'm struggling with a little bit is it's almost too symmetrical with all of their poses. They're all doing the exact same thing, and with their feet placement, their hand placement, and it's a little bit too it's too unrealistic, right? It's too forced. And when you're lighting an image like this and you have this image that's dramatically lit where the light is clearly focused on one person, I almost, when you're doing a dramatic shot like this, I almost feel like the people in the background need to be a little bit disengaged, a little bit less engaged with what's going on with your subject. Obviously, art is subjective, but I would almost like to see not only the groomsmen maybe doing something different with their poses, like each of them doing something different, as well as them doing something a little bit less flat-footed, because they're all in that same exact position, but something that maybe gives the viewer, us, a little bit more believability that this was captured in the moment, right? So, the groomsmen on the left and the right, they're looking off camera. Maybe two of the groomsmen in the middle are engaged with each other. Maybe they're talking with each other, right? So something that doesn't feel just so forced. And that, for me, that's a little bit of the disconnect with the image. But again, I love the concept here. I love the intention, and I love the outside of the box creativity and thinking here. So that's just what I would have to say.
Yeah. Love it. Cool. The only last thought is just the overall coloring. Like it's a little too blue and a little too towards the magenta for my taste. So like just some color shift here. Maybe even just like toning down the blues and the shadows would help.
Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. Very cool. Well, thank you so much, Adrian, for submitting this really cool discussion piece. All right, we're almost done. We got a couple more here. This one comes from another regular contributor. This comes from Brian Green. And this is Cynthia from a couple weeks ago. This was after her post-cancer treatment, which is so great to hear. Good job, Cynthia, for kicking cancer's ass. I love that.
Amazing. Congrats.
So, well, let's see. What do you have? I guess let's have you start this time. Vanessa, what do you think? Or wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started last time. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I started last time. I'm so confused now.
I'll just keep going. You just give it to me. I'll go.
I'm dealing with so many things at once. I'm like, my mind's all jumbled.
Yeah, you should just let me start because you got stuff to do over there. Just perfect camera connection, like perfect, authentic smile, genuine. Like I just want to know this person. Like I just want to know them, and it sounds like somebody I could listen to life stories with. So the connection here between the subject and the camera is fantastic. I love the coloring of the leaves. The part that I think really would just transform this entire image is just warm up the white balance, because we're going to get a more natural skin tone with some warmer white balance. You could even tone down the blue saturation in the color balance, and even with the warmth, it's going to make the trees, both in the background as well as the leaves, a little bit more vibrant and colorful. And just, I think the warmth would match the overall photo expression and the feeling that I'm getting, like when I'm looking at her.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then the other big thing is definitely the crop. So the crop, we're kind of chopping her off at the neck and leaving a lot of headroom. She's in not quite the lower thirds, but not quite the center, vertically anyway. So just tilt the camera slightly down, get some shoulders in there. And I think that would have been a little bit more flattering of a crop.
Yeah. Those were literally my two critiques as well, was just the crop and the warmth. You have such a warm, genuine smile from her. I mean, I have no doubt in my mind that her expression is genuine, and that's very hard, very, very hard to achieve sometimes in photography. And so match that expression, match that warmth with your white balance, right? So this is something that looks like it's maybe shot at 4,000 Kelvin. Bring it up to 6,500 even. See what happens. Obviously, play with it in post production in Lightroom or Capture One or whatever you're using, and just do that. You could also use the eyedropper.
I'm not gonna
tool,
lie,
Brian.
I'm pulling it up right now.
There you go.
Right now in Photoshop.
Yeah, and if you're ever unsure, use the eyedropper tool in Lightroom and click on an area of the photo that's either gray or white. And a lot of times, Lightroom does a pretty good job of picking the proper white balance for you. So that's really all I have to say. But I'd like to see, if you pull it up in
I was like, can I share my screen? I'll show you how I edited it.
I don't
just
know.
Like the difference.
I don't think there's a way you can using my streaming software. But if you send it to me, there you go.
On the bottom.
Oh, there we go. Okay, hold on. Let me. I can see it. I don't know if the world can see it. Let me. Hold on. Let me see if there's a way I can change this so the world can see this.
I'm throwing you for a loop. I'm like, no, we're doing some editing live.
You are. Okay, here we can kind of see it, everyone. On my screen, it's not the biggest.
There you go.
But it's you should be able to see it. If not,
cool. So if I do like before there,
okay,
and then after,
pretty. I don't know if I can see it.
Oh no, I don't.
Else can,
no, you're showing. Here, I can send it to you and save it, but you're not showing the.
Okay.
I'm looking at your thing down there. You're showing your screen. I'm going to send this and save this to you because I think it's a pretty big difference, and it's a really good example of what white balance can do. So I'm just going to throw it back in here for you.
Cool. Very nice. Yeah, Brian, this is it's really cool that you were able to do this and you were able to photograph this part of this woman's journey, this life journey, and I love stories like that. So
so it's up in there, and maybe if you reload your Google Drive, I threw it right back in there.
Oh, cool. Okay, let's. Yep, there it is. Okay, let's take a look. Let's pull this up, and everyone should be able to see that now. So much warmer, much more effective image. I would just recommend everyone, or just Brian, cropping that in tighter, and you got a solid photo. So good stuff. All right, we're going to go ahead. We got just, I think, 2 more photos left. So let's go ahead and pull this next photo up. This photo comes from Carlos Morales. And Carlos shot this at a public water fountain in Detroit. The photo was taken with natural light using a Nikon Z9, yay, Team Nikon, and a 24 to 70 millimeter lens. So I'm going to start, because I know for a fact this time it's my turn to start.
Yes.
So, Carlos, well, first of all, kudos to you for taking a photo that could potentially be very uncomfortable to take because of the fact that you're having presumably a bride and groom do a photo like this in such a public space. It takes guts, and it really takes guts to do something like this and put them in a situation where they're, doing whatever it is they're doing in a public scene. For me, though, I think the biggest room or improvement for growth would actually have just been the angle at which you shot this at. And what I mean by that is there are a lot of distracting elements in the scene, particularly on the left-hand side of the frame. Initially, I'm drawn into whatever the heck's going on here, but then immediately, my eyes go to these yellow umbrellas, these blue seats. There's a dude in the background, right? Maybe it would have been different if there were like a whole crowd of people to add into that like uncomfortableness. Like
I was just thinking that.
But when there's just the one guy, it doesn't work for me. It almost kind of looks like maybe this was taken, and there's nothing wrong with this, but it almost looks like it was maybe taken like at a workshop or something, or like a style shoot or photo walk, and you we're just kind of trying to photograph it from the angle that was given to you. If that was not the case, then yeah, absolutely change that angle. Couple, and not only that too, because you're missing a lot of elements that I feel like are key to the image, right? We don't see the groom's face at all, right? We're missing his eyes, right? Eyes convey pretty much the most emotion in a portrait. So I would love to see his eyes, see less of the top of his face. We're only seeing just the tip of his foot. The angle doesn't work. I feel like if you just moved camera left, it would change the tone of the image completely. Vanessa, what else have you seen?
Yeah, I agree with that. And then I would just totally crop out most of their legs. I'd still want to see like their hips and maybe the top of their legs. But I don't need any of the bottom. The bottom's kind of awkward. And the intensity is really from that waist up. And then we can make it really totally a dark background. Maybe have some separation between the two of their faces and having them looking at each other versus, her looking off at, I don't know, the guy she wishes she was with, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I got you there. And I will say, Carlos, that I love the concept of this. I love the idea. I think the execution just needs a little bit more work. This is something I would do, like personally. Like I would like to be photographed like this. Maybe not with my shirt off, because I'm not as fit as Rick Lewis, let's say. But I would totally do something like this, maybe in like a full suit. And I'm just like go in the water with the suit on. So, well, cool. Thank you so much, Carlos, for submitting this. We're going to go ahead and move on to our final image of the night. We are just rolling through this critique tonight. And this last one comes from the one, the only, Arthur Soifer. I hope I'm saying your name right. If I'm not, I apologize. But for this photo, he says that we had limited time, so we had to work quickly. 2 groomsmen held lights on the left and right to create the light trails. I used a long exposure of approximately 15 seconds while the couple walked back and forth to build the motion effect. When they came together, I froze the couple using a flash with a reflector XL and Magsphere XL. He later blended the layers in Photoshop to finalize the image. So I got to admit, I'm familiar with this technique. I've never attempted it, so I don't have much to add in the value as far as value is concerned of the technical side of this. So with that in mind, I'm going to look at it a little bit more and see if I can look at the posing and the lighting. But since it's your turn, Vanessa, I want you to start for me.
Yeah. So I believe he's saying this is a composite image, which I can I can tell by looking at it anyway, but
sure.
And of course, maybe I'm wrong and I can't tell and I have no idea, but the concept of this, because he had constant lights and flash, he really could have done this all in one image and it would have looked more blended and more natural, because then the, ghosty images would be connected with the two of them there. And right now they're not. So they're kind of like in front of it and pasted on top, versus if you do this all and with a 15-second exposure, you would have been fine. Do it all on camera. You have that trail and then you hold them there and hit the flash, or you can, rear curtain sync or do it the opposite way. But it creates more of that blending effect of the two of them versus this kind of background foreground thing that we're having here. And then overall, just like the pose, since this was a separate image and we weren't trying to do this all in that one image, like we could have worked on the pose just a little bit more, maybe having their cheeks touch, having, the same eye contact or, similar eye positioning,
right.
Just something a little bit more in it. But I'm sure they love this image. I mean, what client is not going to look at this and be like, holy crap, what is this? It's like nothing you've ever seen before.
Yeah, this is grade A dope nasty. I mean, this is cool, right? This is just so unique. Ooh, what are you drinking? And where's mine?
Red wine, Cabernet Sauvignon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's my nightcap. I'm 2 hours ahead of you. We're in nightcap territory. We started at dinner, and now we get a nightcap.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you again joining us so late, because I do know it's late over there. But anyway, yeah, no. So just to kind of echo what you said, Vanessa, I think it's the main thing. The technique is awesome. The lighting's great. It's the pose that maybe could use some refinement. And I would love to see, if not the final pose, maybe the starting pose on left and right of the frame, where, because you can just kind of tell they're standing still, and I'd almost love to see something that suggests a little bit more motion to play into that blur effect. So, have that bride's like knee, one knee bent, like she's taking a step forward and her arm up, maybe if maybe the groom kind of almost starting from like a running position, right? Like he's going to run to his bride, right? So it feels a little too stiff. It feels a little bit too, a little bit unbelievable with the pose. Like I've seen these techniques done a lot. I think a really good example of something that I've seen this technique used on a couple times are like ballerinas or dancers, right? Because you have these shots of these ballerinas like moving through the pose, right? Moving through the shutter drag. And it's a much more believable shot when they're doing something like that, as opposed to just starting from a complete stiff standstill position. So that would be my only suggestion. So Arthur, if you were to do this photo again, I would love to see this done keeping that in mind. And if you do this again, please post it in the group, because I would love to see it. So yeah. Well, with that said, I think that's it. That's our final image of the night. Those were all 14. So
amazing.
Yeah. Vanessa, it was so awesome not only having you do this, but really, ending the year on a super high note with you as our guest educator, guest critiquer. So thank you. Really, it was awesome.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. And maybe I'll see you at WPPI.
I certainly hope so. I haven't decided yet, as I mentioned earlier, and I'm announcing this to the world. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to be going to WPPI, full transparency, because if I don't go this year, it'll be the first time I haven't been in over 10 years. And that in itself is really weird. If I do go, I'm just going to be going for a couple days just to kind of say hi to everyone. I probably will go, but I think, after January, it's going to give a little bit more, insight on my schedule for the year. So, if I do go, I will make sure to say not only hi to you, Vanessa, but to say hi to the world out there. Before we go though, Vanessa, are there, for those maybe who tuned a little bit late, where can people find you? Where can people learn from you? Anything you would like to share to kind of promote you and in the education side of your business?
You can just go to vanessajoy.com. Vanessa's Vanessa, and then you could scope out my wedding work, my corporate work, and then also everything that I do for photographers.
Awesome. Yeah, and I do highly encourage you all to look at her work online, because it is phenomenal. The best way I can describe your work, Vanessa, is timeless. It's something,
thank you.
And I mean that in the most complimentive way possible, because I see so many trends come and go, and when you look at them, you're like, oh, they're going to hate that photo in 10 years. But when I see your work, it's something I could look at 30, 50, 100 years from now, and really it's an awesome keepsake, and it really is timeless. So, Vanessa, once again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And to everyone out there, as always, you know what I'm going to say. Stay classy, stay sassy, and be dope nasty. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.